Welcome to the Positioned Podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Knight, and today we're going to talk about how you can get more done in 3 months than you would in an entire year. Be sure to like, share, and tag this broadcast because this is a game changer, not just for time management, but also for your revenue. So, one of the things that you probably know about me right by now is that I love planning. I absolutely love planning. And I think a lot of times we'll get a word or we have an idea and it doesn't always turn out the way we want it to turn out because we haven't properly planned for it. Well, those days are over. I'm going to help you to do the kind of planning that leads you to not only do business well and have a profitable business, but also to live a life you love. Okay. So the first thing that I do when I plan is most of you know by now, I guess, that I do some prophetic planning, right? So I pray. I want to know what's on the heart of God before I even get started because that is key. Because his will is his bill, right? So tapping into that divine nature of him and timing. He created time. He exists outside of time and created time. So if I'm going to plan, then I need to speak to the maker of it, right? So that's my first course of business every single time. The next thing I do is I get very strategic about what I'm picking up or hearing in the spirit or the things I want to accomplish, the things I want to plan and have planned. I become very strategic about it and I reverse engineer it. One of the things you'll see in the Bible is that God knew the end from the beginning, right? So he started at the end and worked his way backwards. And guess what? If it's good for God, it's good for me. So I start at the end and I work my way backwards. What do I want this project to look like? What do I want the outcome to be? And then I plan my activities. What a lot of people do is they plan their activities and hope for the outcome. Mm-mm. I look at the outcome and then plan the activities accordingly, working backwards. So reverse engineer your strategic planning. The next thing you want to do is not just reverse engineer it, but look at what do I need to accomplish every single week, right? Those 3 months, it boils down to more or less 12 weeks. What do I need to accomplish over the next 12 to 13 weeks in order to get to that outcome? Now, once you do that, you're going to look at it every single week, make sure that you're not overloading yourself. That's another thing that, I found very helpful. Concentrating, focusing, being efficient, effective, and focused so that I'm not scattered between 10 and 12 projects, taking on only one or two large projects or as many projects as I can hire help for. And I'm getting a little bit ahead, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But during my week, I have a list of things I need to accomplish in order to get to my desired end by the 12th or 13th week. That said, you want to go through that list with a fine-tooth comb, right? This is not just a to-do list. You want to make sure that it fits into your timing, that you're taking into account any of the other things that you have to do in your life. Like if it's a really heavy family time, then you may not have as much time in your office. So instead of making yourself frustrated or missing out on an important event or something else that's important to you, then you now have to tailor your list for that week. I also like to leave myself a little margin of time on that weekly assignment list just in case stuff happens, because guess what? Stuff happens. So rather than make myself upset about that or get frustrated, I have to pre-plan. So plan for the contingency ahead of time. Okay. So you reverse engineer it, you come up with your weekly assignment list, and then I just said it, you hire help. I don't take on more projects now than I have the support for. If it is just me on the project, then I make sure that it is something that I can handle, that I have the margin, the time, the energy, the effort, the know-how, the wisdom, all of that in order to accomplish it by myself. If I do not take on more project than I have help. All right, that's just a tip for the wise. Do not take on more project than you have help. And if you want to take on bigger projects and stretch projects like I did, and I talked about this in my podcast episode, both part 1 and part 2, about how I made more last year than ever before. If you have not listened to those 2 episodes, you need to go back and listen to them because there's gold in those hills. There is some gold in that. So I'll put the link in the show notes. But I hired help in order to take on projects that were bigger than my normal projects. And because I took projects that were bigger than my normal projects, I also made more revenue than I did with my normal projects. So it's counterproductive because, or counterintuitive, I should say, rather, because you think that, oh, if I have to hire help, that's going to take away from my bottom line. Actually, it added. So the money that I invested in staff, and it was not full-time staff, I had all virtual project-based hourly staff. It really paid for itself and then some. Um, I cannot overemphasize that you're not going to get to the next level doing it all. You're just not. Stop it. Go ahead and hire the help. You'll be so glad you did. Write me and let me know how glad you were. Okay. And we can celebrate together. The other thing is, here's the thing. Here's the thing that happened for me. I also monitored the amount of time I spent in entertainment, and then I'll tell you how all this turned out. One of the things that we do when we want to de-stress or have some downtime is do some mind-numbing stuff, like we binge TV, or we death scroll on the phone, or we get on social media and watch 10,000 literally videos, right, of dogs eating cake or whatever. And rather than monitoring that, we and just going into that space, I advocate setting up times and experiences you really want to have so that it's quality and it's contained. What we don't want is undisciplined pleasure. So what I mean by that is we get on, this happened to me recently. So confession is good for the soul. This happened to me recently. I went on social media to find there was someone I wanted to connect to. So I went on to get her contact information. And an hour later, I still hadn't been on her page. I was scrolling and viewing videos. They were hysterical. I have to tell you, the videos, y'all are doing a great job. But it kept me from doing what I was called to do. It broke my momentum. It broke my focus. I wasted a whole hour. And if you ever calculate how much you make per hour, that hurts. So let's just, for argument's sake and easy math, say you're making $100 an hour and you are on social media for 3 hours a day total, and then you come home and you binge TV for another 4, that's 7 hours. That's $700 you could have made. And then we say we don't have enough money or our business is not profitable. No, we chose to use that time in a way that was not profitable. Selah. Think about that, right? So for me now, what I do my best to do is to plan my entertainment so that I do not have undisciplined entertainment, because that just leads to 1 hour, 2 hours, 7 hours before you know it, wasted where I could have been making income and paying for the kind of experiences I really want to have. I don't want to sit there for 3 hours wishing I could have the experiences that I'm watching someone on social media having, when I could make that money in those 7 hours and have those experiences in real life. Like, hello. So monitor the amount of time that you take for entertainment and seek out what is truly desired by you rather than just watching someone else live their life. That said, for that freed up time, so let's say, just using the same example, you have those 7 hours now freed up because you have hired staff, you're monitoring your entertainment. You now have to make sure that you're using that time for your priorities. My priorities are my family, my relationship with God, and my business. Definitely not in that order, but those are my priorities, right? My relationship with God gets first mentioned every single day. That's the first thing I do in the morning before I even get out of bed. I usually have prayed and at least greeted God for the day and asked him what, my daily orders are. My family, business, building business and supporting the kingdom. Those are my top priorities. So I use those freed up hours, just using the same example, those 7 hours, to either commune with God and his people, my family, or to build business, right? So I'm not only freeing up time and giving myself the margin of time, which is a gift, I'm also using it in a way that is beneficial. Otherwise, all you have is more freed up time for mind numbing activities like scrolling on the internet. So, quality entertainment, making sure that it's contained, spending it how I really want to spend it. And remember, we don't just spend time, we invest it. We don't just spend it, we invest it. And how and what you choose to invest in will determine your outcomes. I know this seems like this is a little simple, but it works. And I got more done in 3 months, in 90 days, than I did in a whole entire year just by doing these few things. I am telling you it works. And I want to go back to our example. I'm going to make the math even easier because, why make it hard? Let's say you free up 10 hours a week. That's 520 hours a year. 52 weeks times 10 hours is 520 hours a week. How much you make an hour? Let's use the $100 example, right? So let's say you make $100 an hour. $100 an hour times 52 weeks times 10 hours per week is $52,000 worth of time. Would that help you in your life? Could that help you to meet some financial goals and responsibilities you have? Is it worth it to you to turn off that television? Is it worth it to you to monitor your entertainment time and to use your resource of time more wisely by using it for money-making activities? I'm just asking questions because I could be wrong. Don't think I am, but I could be wrong. So I'm saying to you, consider this. Consider these strategies so that you're able to say by the end of the next quarter, right? This quarter just started, literally, it just started like 30 days ago. So we're 1/3 in. So what if over the next even 60 days you tried just to see if it worked, and then next quarter you go hard on and full just to see if it works? I mean, what do you have to lose at this point, right? So I would love to hear from you. My contact information will be in the show notes. Let me know how these strategies are working for you and what you accomplished with the time that you freed up. I can't wait to hear from you because this stuff really works. Be sure to like, share, and tag the broadcast because you have friends who also need to be making that kind of money and spending time with you, having fun with that quality entertainment. Until next time, be wonderfully blessed. Bye now.